Welcome back. Next module. Before we start, I wanted to thank you all for completing the survey. So if you don't remember, it contained a couple of questions about what you find, most helpful and what you may have struggled with a little bit. So some of you have experienced some difficulty navigating the course atlas, and not a whole lot, but still it's a little bit confusing the first time you walk around there. There's a lot of buttons that can take you all kinds of places. This time around in the module you will find, especially during the watershed activity, where you have to do a fair amount of navigating. I've tried to record kind of step-by-step visual videos of how to click through the interface, and I hope those will be helpful as you do that activity. Otherwise, I couldn't see that you had any particular tech challenges other than maybe some slower internet connections or other things that really related to very sort of personal situations that also seem to have been resolved, which is good. But do let us know if you experience something that you cannot resolve on your own, and we'll try to help. In terms of the current event discussion, and I can make those connections, which is the important thing here, to look at current events and start thinking about them as geographers, using maps, thinking about why certain things happened, where they happened, and why. That you got off to a good start there. Really nice, and this will continue this week, this module, by doing follow-up comments and simply building knowledge step by step by using kind of the power of the group there. Some of the suggestions, or I asked you to think a little bit about how certain things, what you did to learn this material. And there were a couple of recommendations that I think resonated throughout. There were several people who noted that logging in early and kind of getting a sense of what's going to be in this module, and then plan out your week based on that, has helped a lot of you. And also, following the videos, several of you mentioned that keeping notes as you were watching the video really helped. Some had the video played while walking through the quiz, and any way you can make that work is fine. It's all about drawing information from those videos and getting to understand really not so much the facts, but the way of thinking, how to reason. Think of the world as a system and with a lot of interconnected parts. And so we've so far just layered on the lithosphere, the solid Earth, and this module is all about the next layer, if you will, the water part, the hydrosphere. So the hydrosphere module will focus on the water cycle. So much like the rock cycle, the water cycle help us understand how water flows through the Earth system and some of the important components of that cycle. Another new thing will be for you to collect data about climate. So it connects both to this module, because you're going to mark down information about precipitation, but you're also going to make notes of temperature and location. So you're going to pick 10 sites in the US, wherever you want, but try to spread them across, and find climate data for that. Record it on a spreadsheet and submit that spreadsheet. By the end of this module, we will have spreadsheets from all of the students, which means that we'll have a ton of observations from different places, and then we'll assemble that into a full map, and that we will work on in the next module. So it all serves a purpose, both in terms of understanding how data comes, how it's collected, what are the recordings, and then assemble it, also work with that data. So the current events on earthquakes. You're really going to build on what you observed so far. You made good reflections on the devastation, sort of the nature of the earthquake, where it happened, and so forth, and also some connections between how it hit and what were the people affected. And many of you have sort of noted that this was a tourist spot in Greece, bordering on Turkey. Popular with tourists from northern Europe, basically. So that has an impact, and the recurring theme, the further we go in this course, will be kind of the human-environment interaction, and that is really when we have started layering on more and more, and we start layering on the human dimension. It will become much more of a recurring question. So how does society interact with the physical systems? The getting to know your peers discussion was fantastic. It was so great to get to know you all, both your video presentations, the little survey that tells us a little bit who you are, but also your conversations in the groups. There were some great, back and forth on, majors, interests, where you come from, all kinds of things. Good dynamic, and still lots of questions that are ready for follow-up. So if you don't mind, please return to that discussion and continue having that sort of on the side, not necessarily about the course type of discussion. That's fine. Just keep the dynamic going. And I think that will also elevate your current event discussion by knowing each other a little bit more. So you build joint observations, you build as kind of a social constructed knowledge, and also the recurring theme of this course is regions. And you should, in your responses this week to the current events discussion, you should try to think a little bit about how regions can be identified if you just look at the lithosphere, the plate tectonics. So can you see how plate tectonics in itself defines world regions, and what are those regions if that's the case? So that should do it. You should be you are off to a good start, I should say. And just keep up the good work. This is going to be increasingly interesting as we layer on more material. So good luck in this module.